Hello, the game is Lost Ark. In this video, I would like to just provide you some information about the game Lost Ark, what I liked and did not like about it while I was playing, show some examples of gameplay and graphics, a little bit of crafting, the classes, their abilities, and just some general overall information of what I experienced and how I felt about it. But first, I just wanted to share this cutscene. This is my favorite cutscene in the game. I have no idea why I found that so funny with the horse going over the edge in flames. And of course, I gotta try to knock this guy's fingers off the bridge, which didn't work. Let's get into what is Lost Ark. So the developer is a game company called Smilegate. It's a Korean developer. Lost Ark launched in Korea on November 7th, 2018. That was a soft launch / open beta, and then it had its official launch on December 4th, 2019. The game was released in Russia on October 27th, 2019. Currently, these are the only two regions that you can play Lost Ark in. Japan, China, North America, Europe, South America. There are no official dates. There's a lot of speculation that sometime in 2020 or early 21 that it might be released in Europe or North America, but nothing official has been said yet. The way I look at it, and one of the reasons why I'm doing this video, is just to spread the awareness. If we become more aware that this game's out there and it's a nice game that some people might want to play, the more interest in a region, the more likely the company will find a publisher and release it in that region, because money is what drives businesses, plain and simple. So if they see that there's money to be made in a region by releasing their game, they will take the time and invest the money to develop it for that region and release it. So Lost Ark is a 3D isometric. I'm not sure if that's the correct term, but that's the best term I can describe it. It's like a Path of Exiles or a Diablo type game where you click to move. You can also use a controller or your keyboard, but it plays very similar to like a Diablo or a Path of Exiles in the very basics of its control, but it is not like those games at all. It is more of an MMO, which is really what draws me towards this game. And why I had my eye on it when it was released in Korea. I kind of have been keeping an eye on it, but I wasn't able to access it in Korea. But I'll get into how people do access this game in both Korea and in Russia in a little bit. But first, I just wanted to continue talking about what this game is. The game is comparable to, say, Diablo in only a basic way, because it isn't really an action RPG. It's an MMO. It's a full-fledged, legit MMO. It just has that gameplay style of a Diablo, which is, again, that's what really drew me to it, because I like Diablo. One thing I don't like about Diablo is I only play it for the seasons. Once the season's done, I do my thing, and I push up a little bit, then I'm done. I'm like, why am I going to put more time into Diablo? I'm not investing a lot of time just because next season I'll be doing it on a new character. There's no longevity. There's no in-depth progression with Diablo because it's an action RPG. It is what it is. That's not That's not putting Diablo down. I like Diablo, but this gives you the opposite of that. This gives you the MMO aspect where you can build your character and grind out your skills and grind out some loot and there is, from what I understand, there's thousands upon thousands of hours of gameplay here. There's a huge end game with, where you can have ships that you can sail and have battles on the ocean. There's raids, there's guild stuff, it's a full-fledged MMO. And not to knock Blizzard or Diablo 4, I'm looking forward to Diablo 4. My expectations are rather low with how Blizzard has been acting recently. But in my opinion, my humble opinion, this is the direction they should be pushing Diablo towards. They should be pushing for a type of MMO system like this based in the Diablo world with the Diablo classes. That would have been stupendous. And then they could also have a side game attached to that for action RPG, Diablo 4 and Diablo MMO. But, we wish, we hope, we have our opinions, and that's all they are. And since I'm getting into more opinionated stuff, which I try to stay away from, because I have my opinions and yours may differ, and everybody has their opinions. You know that saying, everybody has one. But let me get into my likes and my dislikes and what I experienced when I was in the game. I'll start with my dislikes first, that way we end on a more positive note with my likes. But one of the first things that I noticed that I do not like, and that's in games in general, is I'm not a big fan of the Eastern or Asian game design. And there's a lot to that. I need to unpack that a little bit so you understand what I mean by that. It's just very in your face. It's like, gambling and log in every day for your rewards. Log in today, you get this reward. Log in for 5 days in a row, you get this reward. Log in, it goes all the way up to like 30 days. So they want you to log into the game every day to get the reward. They put that pressure on you to play the game. I do not like that. They're very cheap tactics to me. That's my viewpoint from my culture. It's just that in-your-face, intrusive, lack of choice, lack of freedom game design that I really don't like. And I see that a lot in the Eastern-type games over the Western-type games. The other thing I don't like is like the theme park questing system. I like a little bit more of an open world, where this you kind of follow a path. You're on a quest path, and you do those quests and you move on to the next area, the next area, the next area. I find that so mundane, it kills a lot of the enjoyment to me. But that's my opinion and what I like and what I don't like. Some people like that kind of thing. They don't like a little bit more open world. They want to be just kind of led along a theme park. But what's funny is the end game of this opens up. That's just the first 10, 20 hours of the game, maybe. I guess if you're pro, you could blow through it in 5 hours. But that's what I think a lot of people do. They blow through it because that's the content. They really don't like it. But basically, it's a tutorial. So I guess, if you look at it as a tutorial, it's not that bad. One of my other dislikes, and I think I speak for a lot of people here, is pay to win. So there is a little bit of pay to win in this game, and it's a little bit. So I'm more on the scale of let's say right being extremely against pay to win, and even paying for cosmetics would be considered pay to win. Like paying any money, any real money transaction, you're against it. Let's say that's the right side of the scale, and the left side of the scale is like BDO, where hey, it's cool if I spend $3,000 to make my character better than yours, and I'll have superior power to you. Let's say those are the two scales. I'm way more right. I'm not all the way right, but I'm way more right. I do not like any real money transaction at all, if possible. I want everything in-game when it comes to MMOs. I don't mind paying a subscription. I'm very pro-subscription. That $15 a month, I'll pay that if I get access to everything, and you're not going to sell me anything, and I can earn it in game because I like to develop my characters, and that includes cosmetics. So when you strip cosmetics out of a game and sell them for money, you're taking something from my game that I can earn and spend hours doing, and yada yada yada. Example, like the cosmic wings in Diablo. If you go in my channel, you'll see I spent 100+ hours working on getting just that one pair of wings for my character because they look so awesome. And I love doing it. It was something I like doing. I like being able to build and progress my character. And when you take parts of that away, no matter how small, that's where I don't like pay to win. So the pay to win I seen in this game is very hard for me to see and judge it because it was all in Russian. I don't speak Russian. I don't read Russian. And from what I could see, it was pretty minor. It was like some potions, or maybe you have access to a couple more dungeons than somebody else if you bought potions. So it was pretty minor pay to win. I would say, first level of offense would be selling cosmetics. Second level offense would be where Lost Ark in Russia was, selling some potions that give you very minor advantages. To the third level offense would be like selling heal pots and mana pots to where it gives you a little bit more of advantage. To the fourth level of offense would be like, selling powers or giving you just blatant power for money. Now, with all the anti-pay to win, anti-RMT that I just discussed, with that said, this game is free. It's free to play, which is amazing because it is a great looking game. It has good gameplay loops. It has end game. It's an MMO, and it's free. It's definitely, in my opinion, would be considered a AAA game. The quality of it. So you're saving 60 bucks or 60 US dollars on not having to buy the game. And in my opinion, something like this should be a subscription, either $9 or $15 a month. So you're saving that. So they need to make money somehow. So cosmetics in a free-to-play game, absolutely 100% acceptable because they have to make money. I do not like they went a little they edged a little bit onto the other side, which it's, in my opinion, that's going to hurt them more than bring money into them. Your game's going to have a reputation that there's a little pay to win, and that's going to put some people off. I think if you just focus more on the cosmetics, mounts, outfits, costumes, and some of the mounts and the outfits and the costumes that you can buy in this game are beautiful. But I'll try to save some of that stuff for the likes. But so, point being, a little bit of pay to win, but it is a free-to-play game, so it wasn't too bad. If this came out in the United States the way it was in Russia, I wouldn't like the fact that there was that little bit of pay to win. It's like, why dirty it, right? It's like, why put a thorn in my foot just to irritate me? You know what I mean? Like, just get rid of that and make everybody happy, and then make more money, because then I would be willing to spend more money. Whereas if I'm like, they're a little pay to win, I'm going to be a little bit more restrictive. I'm like, well, I'm only going to get the stuff that I absolutely want, like maybe $5 a month or something like that, versus I might be a little more open if it was less, if there was no pay to win. And I guess I'll wrap up my dislikes with just one more. I mean, I could go on and on and on and nitpick a bunch of little things, but that's not the point. I just wanted to point out my major dislikes on the game, and one of them is like they set limits. And what I mean by that is they set limits to how many dungeons you can do. So there's a lot of artificial limitations that they're putting upon you as a player. Like, you can only enter this dungeon 3 times a day, and if you buy this potion, you can enter it 4 times a day or whatever. I don't know if that's exactly accurate with that 3 times, 4 times, but yeah, they do set limits on dungeons and other things, and I find that, how can I say this? I find that to be lazy game development. I feel like there's better ways to implement speed bumps or roadblocks or slow down progression of your players. I mean, the whole point of MMOs is you want to keep your players playing your game, right? You want them keep playing your game so other people play your game, so it's populated, so people spend money and you make money. That's kind of the point. But at the same time, you got to remember you can't make your MMO unenjoyable for the player. And I think this is, again, part of the culture difference between Western and Eastern. It's more acceptable in Eastern, whereas in Western, it feels like it's infringing on my ability to play when I want to play, how I want to play. It's more about your freedom. There's less freedom. They're taking that freedom away from you. And, in another part of the world, that might not be considered taking away some of your freedoms. But in my world, it is. So that's one of the reasons I don't like it. I really hope if they do come out, bring this game to the North America, or the USA, that they do hire somebody who can, like a culture expert, who can help guide them in kind of what is acceptable and what isn't acceptable, and what is frowned on versus what is not frowned on. Because I don't think a lot of game companies do that, and they just go into it not knowing. They're just like, what's wrong with doing this, And they don't realize that there are cultural differences, and they should be respected, because people are going to frown upon certain things in certain parts of the world that they might not in other parts of the world. So I'll just throw this out there to any game developer watching this. If you're thinking about coming over to the United States, or if you are thinking about developing a game in the United States, and you want to know what does work and what doesn't work, and you just want somebody to throw ideas against and get their opinion on, somebody who has a lot of years of gaming and MMO gaming, come talk to me. I'll work as a contractor. I'm a good idea man with a lot of experience in real-world business and gaming. If not me, then somebody else. I've always thought that World of Warcraft, or Blizzard, made a great decision in hiring the player Führer from EverQuest, and utilize him as the same type of thing. I think that's one of the things that made Classic WoW so well received, is that input that they received and were able to implement into the game design. Anyway, enough about all this game design philosophy and theory. I'll probably just end up having people in the comments wanting to argue with me about it anyway. Let's get on to what I liked about this game, and this is a much bigger list than what I did not like about this game. I don't know if you could tell by my voice or the way I'm speaking, but I'm very excited about this game. I would really love it to come into my region so I could play it more. So definitely more positives than negatives, and let me give you some of my top positives. So number one, and I've already touched on this earlier, is that this is a Diablo-like, you know, so a 3D isometric action RPG-ish styled MMO. That in itself is so fantastic. That's the biggest thing. Like, somebody finally did it. Somebody did it. Now, there's a game called Tree of Savior that's kind of like that, but it's a little more anime-ish, but it has a lot of the same designs and game elements. It's a Eastern game, so it has a lot of the things that I don't like in it, but this is an Eastern game. It has a lot of similarities to that. There's a lot of systems, there's a lot of end game loops, but that's more like anime, and it's not as realistic and detailed as this game is, which that's where the Diablo comes in. This is looks more like Diablo. The fighting style is more like Diablo. So it's almost like as if Tree of Savior had a baby with Diablo, and this is what came out. And it's a very beautiful baby. That's all I have to say about that. What I also like about this game is it has a lot of layers to it. And what do I mean by layers, right? So to me, an MMO should be like, I don't know, what's a good analogy? An onion with multiple layers that you can just constantly peel back as you play it over the years. A lot of MMOs are very shallow these days. They don't have a lot of subsystems in them. They don't have a lot of other things to do. And that's part of the flaw with the Western design versus the Eastern design. They go the opposite route. They give you so much to do that it becomes one of my dislikes. They give you too much. It's too just in your face all the time. There's too many systems and subsystems and subsystems of the subsystems, and there's 10, 20 currencies. It's ridiculous. It's just it can get bad. But in this game, I think it's done rather well. It's balanced rather well. The game can get complex in the end game. There are a lot of things to do, but it's not too overwhelming. I think it's well balanced. So to sum it up, what I like is there's a lot to do in the game. This is a game that you can play for years and still have something to do. You can put thousands of hours into it and still have something to do. And to me, this is a huge draw for MMOs. And to me, this is where a lot of MMOs have failed in recent decades. They're shallow, and they just put in a couple gameplay loops, and they think that's fine. They don't, you know, you got to keep your players engaged. How do you do that? You got to give them things to do. How do you do that? You know, you have to put in, there's grinding your levels, there's grinding your spells up, there's grinding your gear up. Maybe you want to put in some things that are unnecessary, like faction. Like I remember in EverQuest, I spent more time grinding faction as something I just wanted to do, because it was like, oh, I want to be, I want to have my Ixar be friendly in Freeport. Absolutely not needed. Not needed. My dude was so powerful, I could have destroyed anything in Freeport. It was a monk. You could just feign death if I got aggro. Completely not needed, but it was possible for me to do it with a lot of effort. I remember at one point I started hiring newbies. I was like, I'll pay you 1 platinum for every, like, I think it was like rat's tails or something, for every 3 rat's tails you bring me. And they had to like do this quest that took maybe, I don't know, it took about 5 minutes per quest, and you get like a rat's tail or something. I'm probably remembering a lot of it wrong, but I sat there and hired about 10 newbies. Like, I did it myself for a couple of days. I was like, this is going to take forever. I was like, you know what? I'm a rich dude. I got a lot of stuff. There's a lot of noobs who have no money. They'll do anything for a plat. Anybody who's played EverQuest is probably laughing. But so what I did is I started, instead of doing it myself, I started spamming out recruitment messages to people, and then they would come up and be like, how can I get that money? I was like, I'll pay you for 5 rat tails or whatever, a plat. And how you get a rat tail is you go do this quest. It takes about 5 minutes. You got to run here, you got to run there, you got to run there. It's very easy for a noob to do. It's just time consuming running through all these zones. You do that 5 times and give me the reward that I need to turn in for my faction quest. I'll give you a plat. They're like, what? No way, that's so much money. and they would do it. You know, some of them were nuts. Some of them just kept doing it for hours. Some of them would do it. They get a plat or two, and they'd be like, "All right, that was a lot of work. I got my plat. I'm good enough for now. I can buy some basic supplies or whatever." You know. But I ended up being a manager, and I was hiring new recruits and training new recruits while they were off doing the work. And you know, it increased my my rate of gathering them fivefold for the cost of a little bit of money and a little bit of effort as a manager. That was incredible, all because they put in a layer for factioning. Absolutely not needed. Just something you can do if you want to. You need to have these things in an MMO. A lot of MMO companies, they make some couple loops and that's it. They think it's good enough. They don't think any further than that. So what I like about this game is it has a lot of layers. It has depth. That's what I call depth. When there's a lot of different things to do, a lot of different subsystems, you can go crazy with that and make it tedious. You don't want to make it tedious or necessary, or you want to make it voluntary. You want to make it feel like the player is something I wanted to do. You know, just because I wanted to do it. I wanted to grind those cosmic wings because I like the way they look, and I wanted to do it. Absolutely voluntary. Freedom. You have to give them freedom, and you have to give them the freedom to do what they want to do, how they want to do it. It's very important game design, in my opinion. So on to my next like. If you have been watching the video as I'm talking, you'll see I switched from my monk gameplay to a mage. So this is the starting area for mage. It's just gorgeous. The game's gorgeous. It really is. Like I would watch videos and stuff, Korean videos, and a lot of people would say, you know, one of the things I love about it is just how good it looks. I'm like, does it really look that much better than Diablo? I mean, it looks a little better, but Diablo came out in 2012. It's 2020. That's 8 years. It should damn well look better than Diablo. But it does. You know, I'm not a game designer or a programmer, so I don't know the details. When you zoom in, you can see that it's a higher quality resolution and everything. When you zoom out, it looks good, but it's the overall art style that really makes it stand out. It just looks really great, and they show that off a lot of times during the game. You'll see, you know, the viewpoint will expand out, and you'll see how gorgeous the landscape looks. Just the attention to detail that they put into the maps and the world astounds me. It really just astounds me, the level of work that they put into it. Like, this is meticulous work. I know that much about game design. And for them to put that much work in it, it's nice. But the thing that really concerns me, and this is maybe veers more towards a dislike, one of the minor gripes that I never mentioned, was that you just run through these places. Like, they put so much work and detail, and I'm just blasting through it in 30 seconds. Like, I don't know. Maybe in part of the game, you have people coming back to, like, the newbie areas and stuff or whatever, but because you're just questing and jumping from quest to quest and quest to quest, you're not really ever going to see it again. I don't know. I don't know. It just seems like a lot. They put so much effort into the world design and the art and the look of it, and it's beautiful. It feels wasteful to me to not have that as a thing. Like, again, to reference like EverQuest, you know, you start in a zone like West Commons killing rats, and when you're highest level, when you're mid level, you'll have to go back there to get some spells or do some quests, or it might be like a griffin you need to kill there or something like that. So it's one thing I enjoyed about the game is how when you were done with a zone, you were never truly done with a zone. Zones were there for the rest of your life of the game. You would have to come back for it for some reason or another, and that made you intermix and intermingle and socialize with people of different levels. Like, high level people, you know, would interact with newbies a lot of times because they were in the same area or the same zone. So that was, again, this is my like, so I'm kind of getting more into gripey side, so I'll stop with that. I think I made my point. But the game is beautiful. It's gorgeous. The skills are beautiful. The landscape is beautiful. The mounts, the design, the costumes, just the art of it is just gorgeous. Some of it could be a little over the top and silly. And I later on in the video, I'll show you some close-ups that I took of some of the monsters so you can see the detail of the art that they gave to the monsters and the animations and stuff like that. But yeah, it's just the game is really gorgeous. A lot of people said that, and then when I started playing, I was like, nah, I'm not really. Is it that gorgeous? But it really is. It has a lot of good looking stuff in it. And another like that I have is very similar to looking good. You'll see any other video that you watch is probably going to say the same thing about Lost Ark, is it feels good. What does that mean, it feels good? Well, as I was playing, I was, does it feel good? Like, I was constantly analyzing that. Like, what does feels good mean? And I was like, it does feel good, but why? And I was trying to just break down the user experience in my head. Like, why does it feel good when I use a spell or an ability? Why does it feel like it has substance versus some other games? Like, Diablo feels pretty good, I think. You know, it's very reactive. I like it better than a game like Path of Exiles, which doesn't feel as good to me as Diablo. The abilities and the reaction time and just the responsiveness of the server, that all comes into play. It's not just how strong your server is. It's not your this server has lots of megahertz. That's not how it works. It comes down to like how you design your game and the code behind it and how well that is, how efficient that is. And you know, I'm not a coder, but I kind of know that much. You know, it's really how you design and program your game that matters. There's a lot of shortcuts you can take to make it feel good, but maybe it might make the game insecure. Anyway, I don't want to get into all that stuff, but what makes it feel good? And I think it's a combination of a few things. While I was playing, it looks good, right? The animations are on point. They look great. The timing of the animations are great. The sound effect is a big thing. They have really good sound effects. Whoever the sound team was for this game, kudos to them. They did a great job. Animation team, great job again. And then that in combination is they use like stuns. So like when I hit something with a big hammer, the monster's kind of like, whoa, they're kind of jolted, you know? And that gives it feeling. So the combination of a good animation when you cast a spell, the combination of the sound is perfectly timed and sounds awesome, and they did a good job with that, combined with the look of the spell, combined with the how the spell affects the monster. Does it slow them down? Does it jolt them with a little tiny brief stun? Does it knock them back a little bit? All that is it had to have been considered. Maybe they got lucky, but I'm thinking it had to have been considered when they were designing the play style of it, and that's really what I think is the formula behind why it feels good to a lot of people. That and another like is just the quality of life and the UI and it's there. It's AAA. Like the user interface is on point. The movement experience, just the whole experience of it is on point. So you combine a quality user interface, a quality system with I guess you could say unexperienced levels of quality of animation and action with your abilities, because I've never seen a game do it as well as this. You put that together, and that's why I think a lot of people, you'll hear them say it feels good, but they won't say how it feels good exactly, like why. And like I said, I put a lot of thought into it. I think that's really what's making it feel, it's really making it pop and make it feel really good to me. And there's other aspects that make it feel good too. Like if you look at the spell bar, there's very few spells. So it's not a big convoluted, like, you know, like World of Warcraft, you got 50 buttons, you're playing whack-a-mole with 50 buttons. Now here there are rotations here. Some spells work better in conjunction with other spells in front of them, or you know, you're working on your cooldowns, but it's very limited. You know, you got what, 8 abilities, 8 attack abilities, and 4 other things. It's limited, which I think that's important. I know a lot of people go, oh, I don't like that. There's only 4 buttons, or there's only 8 buttons. There's a lot of complaint from a lot of people, but I think they don't realize that it changes the dynamic of a game when you have too many buttons, and you're just playing whack-a-mole, and you're just playing cooldown reduction, button presser simulation game. Whereas this game, it drives to the part of it feels good. So in this game, you're selecting your skills. You know, you might have 30 skills, but you need to select which ones you want to level up, which ones you want to expand on and evolve, and then put them into your bar. Not only that, but it might be maybe you have 30 skills, but maybe you have 15 of them leveled up and usable. But maybe for this circumstance, you want these 8. So I really like that. It gives it a level of strategy that I like, where it's not just, you know, mindless clicky cooldown clicky whack-a-mole. All that combined with the pacing of the game. So if you'll notice, when I'm fighting these monsters, they're groups of like 2, 3, 4. It's not like Diablo where you're gathering up 30 monsters and smashing them. So it's more in tune with like smaller groups of monsters, and it just makes it feel better. It makes it feel like you're fighting them. Now, in this early time, it's very easy. It feels like there's no challenge whatsoever. You're just steamrolling them. As you level up, that changes. As you start doing dungeons, that really changes, and that changes the dynamic and the gameplay and the feel of everything a little bit. Makes it better. So yeah, that's one of my positives. It does feel good, and that's why I think it feels good. So it looks like I'm about 30 minutes into this video already, so it's time to move on from likes, dislikes. You know, you're not going to see any more Lost Ark videos from me until it comes to America. The reason for that being is, you know, I'm in the USA, and I'm not supposed to have access to this. It's region locked. So when this game first came out, it was released in Korea, and there was ways to play it in Korea, but they were a little bit immoral, in my opinion. So in Korea, you have to have like a social security number to, like it's like your ID number. In America, it would be considered like your social security number, and you have to have that to play the games. So if you're buying access online or something, or you're basically doing identity theft, and you're supporting identity theft. So to me, that's immoral. I would not recommend anybody support that. I wouldn't try to access the Korean server because there's a victim over there, and you're part of that if you do that. But when it was released in Russia, you can gain access to it, and it's not a crime. It's not, you know, there are no victims. The only thing you need to do is use a VPN to trick their servers into thinking you're from Russia. That's basically the gist of it. But if they find you out, they can ban you. You know what I mean? And that's the risk to it. So I would never want to play permanently on Russia because A, you're not allowed. You shouldn't be over there. B, your character's at risk, so you're gonna, you know, invest hundreds of hours playing this game and get banned at some point potentially. Not worth it. But to check it out, to see if you like it, to, you know, see how it is and see if it lives up to the hype. To me, it was worth it. But just know that there are guides. I'm not going to do a guide on how to access it. That's not what my channel is about. But there are guides out there. You can go to Reddit. You can search YouTube. There are guides out there, and they're accurate, tell you how to do it exactly. It was very easy. But just be aware, I just want to give a warning to everybody. If you're English and you can't read or speak Russian, actually just read Russian, you don't need to speak it. You will need the English translation. And there is a program out there that everybody recommends. It's a translation program. So as you can see in my video, everything's in English. That's because I had to use that, or I wouldn't have understand anything to click on. Like when I first started the game, I was like, I'll be able to get through just with my intuition, and I'll be able to kind of understand it and know what to click on. No, it was like knowing what an ability does. It was just way more difficult than I thought it was going to be. So I did install the English translation, but that isn't executable. So it can contain a virus. And the person who wrote that program, thank you very much. I know it took a lot of work to do an English translation. I mean, it takes a lot of work for a legit gaming company to produce a translation and have some person or small team of people do it just so other people can have access to the games. They're basically hackers. They're basically white hat hackers helping people out. You know, that's a lot of work, and I do appreciate it, so thank you. I used your reference code when I signed up for the VPN. Hopefully you got credit for that and made a little money off that, but yeah, it is risky. They could intertwine a virus into their executable, and you would never know about it. And not only that, you know, you scan it, but scanners are limited. You know, any good hacker is going to be able to hide what they want in their scanner. They're going to be testing it themselves. They're not going to put something out that's going to flag. But not only that, but this program auto updates. So at any point, if this person or group of people want to, when you run the program, which you have to run every time you run the game, they can auto update it, and while the files may have been safe, once they update it to the new executable with the file loaded, it's unsafe. So I had no negative effects. As far as I know, I wasn't infected with a virus, or my computer wasn't hijacked and held for ransom or anything like that. Knock on wood, so I had no ill effects. I've ran scanners and it was clean, but I'm just saying it's a risk. So be aware of that. I want people to understand that 100%. If you run that translation program, it is a risk. Everything else, no risk. No risk at all. The VPN is legit. Signing up for a mail RU email, legit. Other than, anything in the game itself concerning spyware, who knows. But, yeah, that's any program that you install. So I just wanted to put that out there. I think I elaborated on that for 5 minutes. And with that disclaimer out of the way, I guess now we can move on to graphics, up-close shots. So I took some video footage of like up-close shots of monsters that I encountered, so you can kind of see the textures up close instead of just like zoomed out normal gameplay, so you can kind of judge for yourself the level of detail that's in the game. So let me go ahead and run some of them for you so you can watch them. And then after that, I guess we'll get into crafting. And then after that, I guess we'll do some classes and abilities before we wrap up the video. But before we do that, the video that was running right now is right on part of the beginner monk quest. I'm about to fight a boss, so I'm just going to let that play out so you can watch it and with full sound without me talking. And then after that, we'll get into the rest. So here we have a close-up. I was trying to get a close-up of these zombie-looking. This is like an undead area attacking me. And the character I'm playing is my bard. And here we have some snake creatures. Now just look at the animations. Look at the snakes, how they move. Look at them. They quill up and then they unquill and come after you. Just very well done, and the detail of them just really goes to show you the quality of the work that they did here. Now, in the undead area, there were some of these phantoms I thought were neat. Now, unfortunately, I didn't get a close-up of it, but because they were tearing me up. But if you look at their attack, it's like a light, like shining, like their ghost light on you, and that's how they do damage. I just thought that was neat. And here are some succubuses or concubine type creatures. I'm on my monk character. I'm not sure if it's a subclass of monk, but just doing some fighting moves close up. And some big old white mule looking thing. Best way to describe it. And then some cute little furry friendly animals. I was just looking at the detail of the texture on them. And here we have some little bony stone golem things. I had to kill them for a quest. Um, yeah, they weren't too spectacular, but I was just checking out the textures on them while I was doing the quest. And this was like Lost Ark's version of a cockatrice, I guess. Pretty cool looking. Nice texture detail. And that's about it for the close-up of the NPCs. Here we have the mount that you get. This is your free mount, your very basic mount. You get your choice between black, tan, white, pretty standard. But I was just checking out the texture of the mount, the animation of the mount. You know, it was the first time I got it, I just picked the white one and was looking at it and comparing it to the other choices. And this is where I just got the Berserker class unlocked, and I was checking out the skills, the look, the feel, the nice slow wind up and the heavy slam down, and then the long dragon. Another example of the good animations. So here I was just looking at the combat skill interface and looking at the skills and the descriptions and how to level up and put points into them. So on the left side of the window you have the skill and you can add points. I guess as you level up you get points. And then you can put those points into the skill, and then on the right side as you gain points you can select one of the modifications to the skill. I forget exactly what they're called, but they're basically modifications. So it'll do things like, you know, make your AoE circle bigger, or, you know, change a bolt that you cast into a channeling, like rapid fire in Diablo. So changing it from like a projectile to a channeled beam spell. So it modifies your spells as you level up and you get more spells. So you'll have this huge list of spells that you can modify in different ways for different play styles, and then you can save them into templates and stuff. And then here I was just looking at the character UI and the inventory UI, title UI. I was just exploring, seeing what everything did. And in this little clip, I was doing the crafting tutorial as you go through the quest line. You know, it gets you into crafting. So I can't tell you much about crafting. This was more gathering. So I was gathering, or I was mining ore, gathering wood. So this was skinning, which I thought was pretty neat. You basically got to like throw your skinning knife at the little rabbit and kill it with your crafting tool, and then you can go up and skin it. And here we have fishing, which I really like how they had the little fish. You could actually see the fish kind of swarming around the line, and it swims around, and then it bites. And you can see the whole thing. I thought that was pretty neat, and gave it a nice visual. And here we have the gathering skill. I think it's called archaeology or artifact hunting or something like that. But basically, you go around and you have like a little radar, and you got to find the area, and then you scan the area, and then when you find the artifact, then you dig it up. So throughout this video, you've seen a lot of the bard slash mage gameplay. You've seen a lot of the monk. I mean, not monk, fighter. I've been calling him monk, but it's actually his class as a fighter. You've been seeing a lot of that gameplay because they're the two classes that I like the most. I played the most. But I'm going to show you the gunner and the warrior. When you first start, you fight like you go through a storyline and fight a battle. I'll show you those two battles, and then we'll wrap up the video with showing you all the abilities and all the subclasses. And that was the gunner. He has a pretty cool play style. A lot of different variations of his subclasses or his advanced classes. This is the warrior. In the warrior beginning story, you're like a gladiator and you're sent out into the arena to fight. So I'll just go ahead and let you enjoy this, and then afterwards we'll get into showing you all of the classes and all of the advanced classes and some of their abilities in the test realm. And before we get into the classes and the class abilities, I just wanted to touch on grouping. So I was on the lower populated server, but it was supposed to be the English populated server, where English speakers kind of congregated. But I never bumped into anybody who spoke English. I tried several times to, strike up conversations to no luck, but I was able to do some pickup group type dungeons, so I want to put that gameplay in here and let you watch that, so you can kind of see what grouping's like. It was a long dungeon, took about 30 minutes, and at the end we fought a boss. Almost didn't make it, but finally made it, and yeah, it was pretty fun, pretty exciting. And then after this clip, I just want to do a quick clip showing you the cash shop, and then we'll move on to the classes and class abilities.
Пусть ведет их орел, несущий меч. Так ведь сказано в хронике. Меч мы нашли, искатель.
Я уж думал, вы не справитесь.
Прочь, демон!
I wanted to show the cash shop a little bit. It is relevant to the game. It's important to the game. It's how the game makes its money. There is concerns of pay to win, so it's absolutely relevant. So I wanted to show that off and let you see some of the cosmetics and potions that are in it. Some of it's in Russian, so you can't really see or understand what it is. I did the conversion rate, so to buy the little in-game currency that it's showing is equal amount to the Russian ruble. So if the item costs 599 here, that's basically 599 rubles. And then the conversion rate was 200 Russian rubles would equal to $3.15. So just over $3 for 200 Russian rubles. I really do think some of these cosmetics are very well done. I like the way they look. I'm not sure I like the cost of them, though. If you've enjoyed this video or found any part of it useful or helpful, please make sure you give the video a thumbs up. If you would like to become a subscriber to my channel, please do so. Hit the subscribe button. I would appreciate it. If you'd like to get notified when I upload a new video, hit the little bell button next to the subscribe button. In Lost Ark, when you create your character, you pick a class, and then when you hit level 10, you pick your main class. So, for example, a warrior can become a berserker, a destroyer, or a warlord, the mage, an arcana, a summoner, or a bard. So we're going to go ahead and go through those, show you the different classes, and show you the abilities in a class. So we're going to start with the mage here. So I made an attempt to highlight over the abilities slow. Hopefully I did that well and didn't like zoom past them. And that's intentional, so you can pause the video wherever you want, fast forward, rewind, and be able to read the ability description to get a better idea of the abilities. I'm sure there's websites out there that list the abilities as well, but I just kind of did that just in case you want to pause the video and look at the abilities. And then I'm going to go through each class and then test out the abilities that are given to you in this test area. So basically the game is designed for you to be able to try each class out and then kind of pick the one that you like.
Не хочешь?
Lutern!
Беги, Сирена! Беги от своей страны! Твоя мана скоро закончится!
Lutern!
Покорно! Вместе с остальными! сражаешься за своего народа!
Now we will move on to the fighter, which contains the classes of Battle Master, Infighter, and Soul Master.
И будущее миров окутал туман. Демоны, что пребывали во тьме Фитрании, пробудились. Они несут хаос и погибель. Только одна сила способна их остановить.
And now for the warrior class, which is Berserker, Warlord, and Destroyer. And last class we have is the Gunner, which contains the Devil Hunter, the Blaster, and Hawkeye.
Только невежество боится прогресса! Отсечем немного лишний лось! Мужик и готов! С машинами будущее! Мужик и готов! Отсечем немного лишний глаз. С машинами будущее! Отсечем немного лишний глаз. Отсечем немного лишний глаз.
Alright, that is about everything I have on Lost Ark. I hope this video was interesting for you. I hope you learned something new, or maybe drummed up a desire for this game in your region. Let me know what you think in the comments. Please give the video a like if you enjoyed it. Think about subscribing to my channel if you're not already a subscriber. If you are a subscriber, thank you for watching. I do appreciate it. And click the little bell notification if you want to see when I make a new upload. I'm going to go ahead and let this play out so you can finish watching my bard do a little mini boss battle. I believe it was for a quest, but it has some nice graphics. So I'm just going to go ahead and let it play out. I know this was a long video. It took a long time to make. It took a long time to play and get all the footage and put it all together. It's not perfect, but I think it came out pretty well overall, and I think it shows the game in mostly a positive light, while also showing some of the the cons to the game. Nothing's perfect in this world, but definitely looking forward to playing this game again if it ever comes to my region. Thank you, and I'll see you in the next video.